United States, we often refer to our main sources of energy as fossil fuels. Oil, natural gas, coal, they're fossil fuels because they come from fossils, ancient organic material, forests, jungles, plankton, dinosaurs. Held under the ground for millennia, they transform into oil, gas, and coal. Everybody thinks that's true. On the other hand, there's evidence that maybe it's not the whole story. If that's where fossil fuels come from, if that's how hydrocarbons are made, then how come they're found so deep under the oceans and at the top of the Earth? How come one of Saturn's moons, according to scientists, has more oil and natural gas than Earth? Were there dinosaurs and planktons and forests at one point on one of Saturn's moons? Probably not. So if all hydrocarbons aren't from fossils, where are they from? And why isn't this commonly known? And what are the implications of it? And what does it tell us about our modern climate change policy?
Clearly that the question of abiogenic method, which means no need of any biology, is true. You actually see methane also. In all the atmosphere of Jupiter, you even find benzene in the rocks of Mars. And then for me, astrophysicist, I can tell you even more. You find this complex hydrocarbon called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. It's another one of those complex hydrocarbon. Then actually you found it in interstellar space, between space within stars, intergalactic space. These are everywhere.
All of us, including myself until very recently,
Right.
assumed that all of our main energy sources are these so-called fossil fuels, and of course their existence is going to be limited by the amount of fossils, by the amount of decaying organic material.
Not so.
So if that's not so, then we need to rethink a lot of things.
Even the idea that we are not limited and bounded by availability of, let's say, gasoline, petroleum, or coal. Coal now they won't allow us to use, right? As you know, in COP meeting in Dubai that just ended a day ago, they just physically declared themselves that we should stop using fossil fuel. Basically, petroleum, natural gas, and even coal. I mean, these people are insane now, really insane. I think they're going to harm more people with their own delusion. Plus, they always remember, these are people who actually don't represent the majority. No. Since when are this put up to vote? It's always about this minority, the tyranny of the few, always robbing the whole census, the good census of the good people. This is part of the reason why, as a scientist, I also speak out.
We keep hearing there's a scientific consensus on climate change. Every scientist believes the same thing about it, believes Al Gore and John Kerry. Maybe that's not true either?
I've been working on this subject of CO2 causing climate change, or what other factors we can ask that cause climate to change. For close to, as long as since my postdoctoral year 1991, right? So it's about 31 years, 32 years. And on this question, I think we have a very definitive answer. What we know now is CO2 ain't gonna cost nothing. It's not gonna change much of the climatic system, which means it won't change the speed of the hurricane, it won't change how fast or how frequent tornado form, it won't even actually make any difference to the polar bear population. It's all conservation issue, right, on polar bear. It won't even cause how much fish you don't catch, It won't even cause what they call ocean acidification. It won't even cause this problem that they claim. It's all artificial. Everything they do, it's all dreamed from their model and the tyranny of the few again. That those few people just dream up this scary story that it just ain't true. My view is that the UNIPCC, United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is one of the primary problems, which means they have been misleading people. They've been using authority of science, which is not true, right? It's all governmental hackers, basically, right? People like John Kerry, who I guess can barely take a proper physics class, who keep claiming that greenhouse effect is so simple, right? And then he refused to explain how does it work, right? I mean, he did all of that. That is very terrible. That really embarrassing to America. CO2 is a gas of life. When you have more CO2, the plant kingdom, the whole ecology, even the oceans, gonna have more, basically, ability, more fishes, more everything.
More life.
More life, essentially. That's why it's called gas of life. And these people want to demonize it as some gas that can cause global warming, can cause hurricane to run faster or weaker. I don't know what they want. to have more rain, more droughts, and all this other nonsense that they claim. All of that, it just ain't so. That's the problem. Even though we may not know exactly what is causing climate change, we suspect it's the sun. We have a lot of evidence to show that it's probably the sun. Very high percentage, like I would say 90% we're sure, but not 100%. But we know carbon dioxide is not the gas, it's not the what you call like your thermometer in your room can adjust up and down that you can set the temperature to be whatever level you want it. First of all, they can never tell us what temperature do they want it at. What is the temperature you want to set the global temperature? Al Gore has not been able to answer that. John Kerry has not been able to answer that. And I really find that the whole problem of this global warming is a complete nothing, which means we should do nothing about it. Just go on and live life and adapt to it.
Global temperatures have dramatically fluctuated within the period that humans left records. I mean, not that long ago. I mean, there are cities underwater because sea levels have risen within recorded history. The signs of the glaciers are all around us. So that was all before the internal combustion engine. How do they explain that?
This is the problem. They admitted. A lot of them admitted. They willingly admitted. You can read all.
But you can't deny it. I mean, we had glaciers and then they melted because of global warming.
They are forced to confess. I mean, these are the confession time. It's the sun actually that does a lot of this. The glacier, like there's a period called Little Ice Age. From about 1300 to 1900, very cold. And then there's a medieval warm period from 880 to about 1200. It was warm. I mean, you can grow wine in England, right? And now you cannot grow wine, right? Things like that. I mean, Greenland was green back then, but now it's full of glaciers. Ice is coming in. So what are you talking about exactly? And it was the sun, actually. The sun fit quite well. As far as we know, in terms of deducing the information of how does the sun, how bright was it, how dim was it? Basically, just like that, just the amount of light coming out from the sun. Very tiny percentage, by the way, very small. It's on the order of less than 1%, but it's more than enough because there's another effect that is very, very important. It's basically because the sun, the Earth is forced to go around the sun, and then the orbit change ever so slightly because of perturbation from all the other planets. Jupiter, Saturn, and even Venus and Mars, they are actually controlling what we do. And the moon, of course, is very important. But that other factors, the orbits, plus the changes of the sun by itself, between how bright, how dim it is, these two factors can explain just about everything that we know. All the data that I have, actually, they kind of want to have CO2 as the prime driver of everything. This is part of the problem that I find.
Well, that's not science, that's lying.
It's bad. It's bad in science. This is why in science now, I rather say this thing outright. I rather have questions that cannot be answered than answer that cannot be questioned. Because these people are just offering you the answer and then you should just shut up, like you say. Don't ask any question. Don't criticize. Don't even bother to think. Just accept what we say. They spent almost $2 trillion on solar and wind power over the last, 5-10 years or so. And then what they did is that they spent more of the money, $2 trillion on solar and wind. And solar and wind can only account for only 3% of the world power, 85% from fossil fuel, as you can see, hydropower and nuclear. Nuclear is another puzzle. I checked with all my nuclear expert friends that have been working for years on nuclear power. Nuclear power is one of the saddest stories. I believe that we actually have almost a solution in hand. Not the fusion, of course. It's the fast reactor, or the good generation of nuclear power, peaceful use of that, won't even generate nuclear weapon. We can do all of that technology. The only thing barrier is red tapes, environmentally scared of radiation, all these other problems. We almost have all of that in hand. The power can last. One estimate shows that if we were to use it at the demand of that by 2050, we can have enough power for 2,700 years.